English translation. 206th contact, Friday, 7th March, 1986, 11:04 hours.
You seem to have something that is of importance that you have called me.
Exactly. Here, I received this letter from Franz Joseph Strauss, the Prime Minister of Bavaria in Germany, who is also a chairman of the party Christian Socialist Union. You can read it. He asks whether I can give him exact predictions for the next 20 years, namely in relation to the development of the economy and in regards to the anarchism and terror of certain extremist groups, etc. Also, he asks me whether I can calculate for him how long he can still administer his office and what his life expectancy is. He thinks that I could probably give him information because he would bear the truth with certainty. And since you told me that the world economy, German politics, and Franz Joseph Strauss, along with the study of extremist groups, were of special interest to you and that you would thoroughly deal with these things, it would probably be right if, because of this letter, I asked you for advice on what I should do.
First, let me read the whole letter.
Of course, excuse me.
The words that are written here are good. And because I am able to judge Franz Joseph Strauss very well as a result of my investigations and observations, I think it is very well appropriate if you give him exhaustive information, but I must still explain some concerns to you. However, you should make sure to comply with his desire not to speak publicly of his concerns during his lifetime, and, thus, not to speak about his letter, but only within the dedicated circle.
He writes that I am to destroy his letter.
You should give attention to his confidence in you.
I did not have anything else in mind. I will burn his letter immediately, as well as a possible response.
He will certainly thank you for your explanations because that is his type.
Thus I will write to him. How long his lifespan will be, however, I do not know. Also, not whether he would bear such information.
The man is like a primitive human, one who thinks realistically and is hard in the taking. Tough, as you always say.
You probably mean that he is quaint, so earthy, straightforward, and simple, etc.
That is of correctness. Then the meaning of my words is that he is quaint. Concerning his impending lifespan, I can enlighten you, so you can inform him of it. My prediction relating to this has clearly shown that he only has about 32 months to go before he will pass from life into death. The date of his death will be the 3rd of October, 1988.
So he will be 73 years old. His demise, what will be the reason for it? Not an assassination attempt or something?
No, the reason will be heart failure and circulatory failure.
So, then tell me what I should write to him. Everything except what I already know. Also, you can tell me the answer to the question that Hans Benz gave to me, regarding the economic situation for the next few years, until around the turn of the millennium. In particular, he is interested in the company Sulzer and other large-scale enterprises in Switzerland.
Actually, I should not explain anything about that. But since it concerns a problem that will get out of control within a short time, and that also lies in the interest of the Swiss population, I still want to share some facts with you in an official form. In the coming times, much harm will result for the Swiss economy, namely by the effects of profiteering and the consequent mismanagement of irresponsible administrators, presidents, directors, owners, and managers, who strive for millions of sums for their income and who will unscrupulously and irresponsibly ruin, exploit, and destroy all kinds of newer and old established companies, respectively enterprises. Thus, as you always say, all sorts of businesses with dozens or even hundreds and thousands of employees and workers will be sold off, dissolved, driven into bankruptcy, or merged with other companies. Incredible loans will be granted by the banks to the businesses, etc., whereby the companies will get into debt, namely in millions and billions of amounts, loans that can never be repaid, and that ultimately lead to bankruptcy. Thus, irresponsible management and profiteering, as well as the related mismanagement, will lead to the impoverishment of the private sector, but this will not only be so for Switzerland, but also for Germany and all other industrialized nations of the world. And with respect to the specific question of Hans Benz, which is related to the company Sulzer, I must say that even this will disintegrate more and more in a few years, and will lose its old value and character as well as reputation. It will be very bad with the Swiss national pride, namely in the year 2001, when the Swissair will be devastated by irresponsible managers and administrators, etc., by mismanagement, megalomania, inflated salaries and severance amounts for outgoing leaders, as well as just as excessive salaries for personnel and pilots, etc., and by megalomaniac business connections and business interests, which are reflected in an economic criminal form, as one would actually have to say, although the necessary capital will be missing for this. But unfortunately, it will be such that those who are responsible will not be held accountable when everything has gone so far. Rather, others who are innocent will be held financially responsible for this. Falsely. Also, much guilt will be awarded for an event that will occur on the 11th of September, 2001 in America, when fundamentalist, radical extremists who hate Americans will murder thousands of humans in an act of terrorism, about which I may not mention the closer details officially, but rather only tell you confidentially.
Wait, please. Can one not prevent these things if I announce them?
You know that this is not possible because my explanation does not concern a prophecy, but a prediction, which resulted from a viewing of the future. Therefore, it is irrevocable. And if you would mention the exact details publicly, then the result would only be much worse, namely, that the Third World War would be triggered. Nevertheless, this danger will still exist because America will take revenge for the inhuman act of terrorism and will request the NATO countries to provide assistance in this act of vengeance. The great baller for this will, through inconsistencies, be appointed the new president of the USA only a few months earlier, a man by the name of Bush, whose father will have already been a U.S. president. This man is absolutely inhumane in his thinking and feeling for his fellow man, and a matchless advocate for the death penalty and capital punishment. In this form, he will sign many death sentences during his preceding governorship and, along with this, allow many innocent people to be executed. His humaneness always only refers to his own person, and on a smaller scale, also to his closest family members. Furthermore, he is currently just as power-hungry as he will also be later. When things happen where he cannot immediately find the right way, he immediately loses control of himself and his actions, which will also be the case when the terrorist attack has occurred. He is a man of unpredictability and has an unusually strong tendency toward hatred and revenge, which, just through the terrorist attack, will bring into the spotlight the danger of the Third World War, which can only be prevented by the reason of the American people and the rest of the world, which is doubtful yet not to be ruled out, despite everything.
May one at least openly ask and say, whose power and plan will devise and carry out the act of terrorism?
Among others, it will be a man from Saudi Arabia who will stay at that time in Afghanistan under the protection of the so-called Taliban, who will hold a form of murderous and terrorist power in themselves. They will be fundamentalist and extreme Islamic fanatics by whom a lot of human beings will be sentenced to death by Taliban courts, including women and children. No other group will be found as their equal at that time on the earth.
However, you still did not say the name of the Saudi who, according to your words, will be the real person responsible.
As I said, he comes from Saudi Arabia. As a more than 100-fold millionaire, he will construct a worldwide terrorist organization of fanatical Islamic believers and run the world through these deadly acts of terrorism. His name is Osama bin Laden.
The guy is unknown to me. I have never heard of him.
That will soon change because the name will become world-renowned in the 90s at the latest.
Dubious honor for the guy. But tell me, how does it actually stand with the religions? You once said that Islam and Buddhism would be on the rise worldwide.
That is of correctness. The next world religions that will win the upper hand worldwide. Beyond the numerously existing sects of all kinds that are becoming more prominent are Buddhism and Islam, whereby particularly Christians will indulge in and fall victim to such beliefs. This is now already based on the fact that these foreign faiths fascinate, and on the other hand, seem to be more logical than belief in an incarnate Son of God. This, even though the other religions also exhibit many illogical facts, through which the human beings would have to recognize that even these are nothing but pure fabrications of humans. But where intellect and rationality as well as the will for independence, truth, and responsibility are missing, no cognition can be gained. With regard to your question, Islamic fundamentalism will increase more and more, which will often degenerate into hatred, desire for revenge, racial and religious hatred, and terrorism. But this may never be interpreted by the other religions and their believers as true Islam, because fanatical fundamentalism, which also occurs in certain respects with other religions and sects of all kinds, has nothing to do with the actual religion, and thus also nothing to do with its believers. In truth, fundamentalism is as much a stranger to a religion as also fanaticism and extremism. These forms are rejected by Islam, as well as by the upright Muslim believers, as this is also the case with the upright believers of other religions. But this is also well known to you because during your learning in all the years of your travels, you also concerned yourself with Islam, became a Muslim, and even received the title of Sheikh, so Prince.
I did, yes, and that is right. But I discarded all the adopted religions again. For me, they were always only a means for learning.
That is of correctness and known to me. But now, we should turn our attention to those concerns that I still have to explain to you in confidence, so that you can tell them to Franz Joseph Strauss.
All right, then go ahead.